Thanks, team, for giving me an opportunity to present my views on how the threat landscape has changed in terms of data leakage. I am Nagarjun Pota and one of the co-founders at Data Resolve. I am also holding the role of Chief Architect and CISO at Data Resolve. So in this presentation, we're going to talk about more on what kind of new threats to be considered from a data leakage point of view, and especially the human element which has to be considered. While we invest or plan to invest in several combinations of cybersecurity tools, we somewhere do not focus on one key aspect, which is the human element. And we can also refer to this human element as the insiders. Insider threats continue to persist irrespective of the advancements in cybersecurity technology. And we're going to talk about how these threats need to be looked at in a more serious and a more granular level, and how tools like Data Resolve can help. So in this slide, I'm going to talk about a few scenarios through which we have observed data leakage happening in actual customer environments. And these are scenarios where we have been able to provide some or the other type of solution to mitigate this risk. So we're going to talk about a scenario where there is an employee who is on a notice period, or the person is just looking for a job and not yet actually resigned. So in such scenarios, what happens is that the movement of data from the official domain to a personal domain or to some unauthorized file upload sharing portal, or maybe the usage of removable media, it is typically observed that the volume of such activities increases in this transition period, in this notice period. So being able to detect it proactively through analysis of the online search keywords or the personal email activity, and also implementing a granular level of surveillance through a solution like Indefense is possible. Nowadays, in terms of online development and software collaboration portals, GitHub and equivalent tools are very much popular. And GitHub is something which customers can not do a complete block for it, because on a day-to-day basis, a lot of official information, a lot of critical software development information is accessed through GitHub. Company may be using or depending on an open source project, which is dependent on GitHub, which is hosted on GitHub. However, the restriction needs to be done in a way that the critical proprietary source code remains within the organization network only, and that is not uploaded to GitHub. So this selective and regulated usage of GitHub is again possible through a DLP solution. And Indefend is designed to address these kind of scenarios as well. Source code transfer may be attempted through online channels as well as removable media. So irrespective of the channel through which the data transfer attempt is happening, so the DLP solution should be able to look at it. Apart from this, the usage of BYOD has also risen rapidly within the last 2 to 3 years. While BYOD was present earlier only from the point of view of smartphones and tablets, these days you also encounter the scenario of consultants working from their own personal laptops, or freelancers delivering company projects from their own laptops. Now, how exactly do we track data movement from BYOD scenarios? The DLP solution should have a mechanism to track this as well. Okay, so any data movement through corporate email channel, whether it is being done from a BYOD device or a official IT asset, the corporate data movement should be tracked in a seamless manner, and gaps of such nature should be avoided. Also, it is important to prevent the usage of personal accounts to access official data. Okay. So let's say I have an IT asset where personal account is being used. Let's say I'm trying to access my personal Gmail ID. Okay. So from a DLP point of view, I should allow the user to do all the official activities. At the same time, restrict such personal email account usage attempts so that by mistake or by intention also, data transfer is not done through personal channels. The other aspect here is that when we look at DLP or a data leakage scenario, typically we look at the data flow only. We look at data classification, we look at data flow, but we somewhere do not focus on the behavioral analysis part, which is a precursor and a very important threat vector to be considered. And in most of our experiences, what we have seen is that behavioral analysis anomalies or strange or unexpected behavior from a user is a precursor towards a data theft attempt. Okay, so this could be a scenario of large number of files suddenly getting transferred through any channel, or someone trying to do a system bypass Google search, or trying to use certain types of applications which are typically not part of the day-to-day business activity of the user. Okay, or trying to connect some removable media which is typically not observed in the day-to-day user behavior, or accessing of websites which are typically not accessed. So anything which is out of the ordinary for the user's day-to-day behavior, that has to be looked at with suspicion, at least at the first level, and that should be an input to the InfoSec team for planning further actions and controls. While we all know that USB is a threat leak, a data leak threat vector, but at the same time, it is important to ensure that whatever solution has been implemented as a DLP, it is able to prevent the data leakage in safe mode also. As we all understand, solutions like DLP are finally software which are designed to run on top of the operating system. But if someone tries to bypass the operating system controls, still the DLP solution should have some level of restriction or control mechanism to thwart such attempts. Also, we are looking at the rise of end-to-end encryption-based channels. So we're looking at WhatsApp, Telegram, Signal, these kind of portals being more and more frequently used on IT assets, official IT assets, because these days companies want to stay in touch with their customers and partners through WhatsApp business. So usage of WhatsApp cannot be completely blocked in a corporate environment, but at the same time, it should not lead to a unexpected or intentional data leakage mechanism. So a DLP solution should focus on this area as well. It cannot be ignored any longer. And lastly, when we talk about analyzing an actual data leakage attempt, let's say a data breach has been identified by a DLP tool, how do we gather and correlate all the necessary information from a forensic analysis perspective, and being able to collate all the necessary evidences in one place, so that, let's say, a legal case has to be formed, some cybercrime level reporting has to be done. So the necessary forensic information has to be made available through the DLP tool as well. So these are few important scenarios and aspects which we wanted to highlight here. And a typical DLP solution should be able to cater to all these aspects, so that organization has a strong sense of protection against insider threat scenario. Some of the important trends that we are seeing in an enterprise environment from an insider threat management perspective. So any DLP solution which we will look at has to cater to these aspects. So support to track data movement to mobile or virtual workforce, because hybrid work will continue to stay. It is not going away anytime soon. So solution should have seamless application of policies, whether the user is operating from the office network or from out of office. Okay. BYOD scenarios have to be catered to more closely than before. Data leakage attempts through cloud apps and cloud services is again growing trend which we are seeing. So DLP solutions need to focus on this area as well. And as we are all aware, the government regulation for data privacy is about to be made live very soon. So the moment this gets converted into a law, organizations will have a huge challenge in managing the compliances and implementing necessary controls and evidences to justify that they are compliant with the data privacy regulations. So a DLP solution should be well prepared to address such compliance requirements in advance. And in an Indian context, we have made few predictions which we have highlighted here. So we see that customers are going to be more and more focused on use case driven procurement. It will not be just a typical purchase driven by an Excel based comparison or a product brand. It will be focused on actual a data leakage scenario which is relevant to the customer's organization and whether or not the DLP solution is able to meet it. And the use case consolidation across different product stacks will also be observed this year. We're looking at demand growing for unified technologies more than isolated ones. So this is one of the forecasts from our side for this year. And a lot of boundary cases that we have shown in the earlier slide that will continue to grow, and it is no longer possible for any DLP provider to ignore these scenarios. Lastly, it's not just the deployment of the tool which will be important, but the configuration and the full leveraging will also be focused upon by the customers, because the effectiveness of the DLP is as important as the implementation of the DLP. Because finally, the data breach attempt which will happen in the presence of the DLP only, right? So the configuration needs to be reviewed from time to time. The relevant policies need to be implemented, and relevant expert level support will also have to be leveraged. So this is the approach of data resolves solution which is indifferent. The insider threat management approach starts with discovery and analysis, and gradually we move to detection of what is relevant and filtering out what is irrelevant. And once the relevant events or incidents are found out, then raising suitable alerts or notifications to the actionable team, whoever would be the incident response team. So connecting that team to the relevant alert information. And finally, bringing out necessary insights which will allow the InfoSec team to formulate or implement necessary DLP controls. So this is the typical cycle of any insider threat management solution, and Independent also follows the same. At a high level, Independent has these components. So we have a insider threat response system. There is a full capability of data leakage prevention detection, content filtering, data discovery, data and use, data in motion. All the components are available, and there are customized policy sets available for different kinds of industry segments. As you can see from the below section, we are a fairly industry agnostic solution provider. We've been fortunate to work with more than 400 customers across different geographies and industry segments. And worldwide, more than 200,000 endpoints are having independent solution installed in one way or the other. So this suite of Independent, which has all these useful and powerful components, are going to serve as a powerful tool for all organizations in achieving a meaningful and powerful insider threat response system. and mitigating the insider threat related risk. One of the important factors which we have highlighted in our previous slide as well is the need for cross OS support. One of the trends which we are observing these days that more and more customers are having the shift towards Linux. While Windows is the leading operating system of choice, but we see the prominence of Linux going up, and even the same for Mac. While Mac was earlier considered operating system, or the MacBook was considered as a luxury device and typically meant for only the top management, but that trend is also rapidly changing. With the hardware costs increasing, now Mac or Apple ecosystem has come up with competitive pricing and offering its products at a very much affordable range, which is driving up the demand for Mac even in non-executive level roles. So cross-platform solution requirement is very much the need of the hour, and our solution caters to that. And the same needs to be considered by any customer going forward. These are some of the product differentiators which we have highlighted over here. It's important for customers to be aware of these factors while evaluating a DLP solution for their organization. Let's say I talk about custom rule sets. Now, this is a very important use case wherein I am providing the customer a capability to come up with meaningful rules which are relevant for their own organization context only, which will allow only the meaningful or relevant events to be highlighted for the InfoSec team's attention, and minimize the false positives. In terms of ease of reporting, we have support for bot-based integration. So users who are not very technically savvy, they can log into the dashboard and communicate with the bot for raising the report requirements in a very human language manner. They don't need to understand the complete technicalities or different to extract the relevant reports. And in terms of the runtime resource footprint, that is again very well managed so that it doesn't overload the system or impact the user experience in any way. And we offer email gateway DLP, endpoint DLP, and productivity components all within one solution. There's no need to purchase separate consoles or separate products for all these three requirements. DLP scan is a very useful initiative which we have brought out recently. This has been live in the market in the last 1 year, and we have targeted almost 100 plus customers with this initiative of ours. The overall focus here is to ensure that the DLP solution which has been purchased by the customer is being effectively used, and the deployment, the policy configuration, the overall thought process which has gone into implementation of the DLP, all of that is validated, and the recommendations which come out in the course of the scanning activity, those are submitted to the customer as an outcome of this exercise. And we have seen very strong and positive response from customers for this DLP scan activity. And going forward, this will be automated from our side. A lot of surprising insights have come out after doing DLP scans in customer environment, which typically bring out either lack of knowledge or a negligence within the organization itself, or the other scenario which is observed is that the team is very much attentive at the time of implementation, but maybe after 6 months of the solution go live, the attention fades away and then policies go stagnated, and that leads to more and more risks and threat vectors coming in. So since we are talking about human element, and human nature is never static, it's a dynamic aspect to consider. That is the reason why DLP policies also need to be reviewed from time to time. DLP is again not a static solution. The success will be completely dependent on how frequently it is reviewed and fine-tuned. These are some of our customer reviews. We are well rated on Gartner Peer Insights and a few other online portals as well. So that is another factor which customers should consider while evaluating a DLP solution, whether the recognition and acceptance from other customers is available or not. Lastly, a short background about Datasolv. So, having started this as a IIT Kharagpur incubation, we've evolved and come along a long way since then. We've been active in the market in the last 8-9 years, and we've gotten multiple awards and accolades in this journey. We're backed by well-known investors, be it the IDFC, Parampara Capital, or the Hero family, and a few international investors as well. This has evolved into a strong and powerful journey since then, and we have 400 plus active customers to support this initiative, and we plan to continue to grow this even further with everyone's support. And we invite you all to reach out to our team for further insights and information about the solution and evaluate this further. So thank you everyone for your time.